This session is something that will be exciting, and we'll keep it as interactive as possible. So we will not be going on for 30, 40 minutes and then open up to audience questions. We'll have audience questions right after we have our initial responses from the panelists. So please keep your questions ready. Let me introduce the gentleman on the panel. We'll start with the gentleman on my immediate left, Prashant Singh. He manages media research business at Nielsen India. Praveen Gupta, head of digital business unit at Tata Docomo. We have Sanjay Mehta, co-founder and CEO of Social Wavelength. And last but not the least, we have Prateek Mazumdar, who heads marketing at Yatra.com. So we have probably the most power-packed panel over here, and if they don't know about ROI, if they don't have a stance on ROI, then very few people will. Before we start, the assumption of our panel, basis the brief that we received, is that on social media, there are a lot of brands who are on Facebook, on Twitter, and all kinds of platforms doing all kinds of things. So things like engagement, engaging with the audience, doing ORM or managing reputation are things that obviously need to be done. How many in the audience believe that those are things which have its own sense of ROI? Most of you? So what we would like to open up by saying is that in this session, we want to first define what is ROI. We want to figure out if clients really understand what ROI is and how it can be measured. What are various brands doing towards generating ROI? How does social media compare with respect to, let's say, television, with respect to press? And if those medias are subjected to ROI evaluation, what should or should not be the ROI matrix for social media? So I'll open up to the panel. We'll start from the gentleman on the extreme right. Quick remarks in terms of what you perceive should or should not be the entire discussion about ROI on social media.
So before we get into ROI, obviously there is the first topic, which is what is the objective of whatever campaign that we are running, whether it's on social media or TV or whatever. And based on that, obviously ROI can be determined. There are three ways to look at it, and at Nielsen we look at first is reach, whether I'm reaching the right audience, am I reaching them often enough? Second is resonance. Whatever I'm saying, does that really make sense to the audience? Is that leading to any change in their perception of my brand, of my reputation? And then finally, reaction, which is about finally return on the money as sales or as business. And that cannot be just looked at for a particular platform. It has to be campaign or brand specific, because there is multiple things that we're doing for a particular brand. It could be TV, print, social media, other online, mobile, and we need to look at that holistically. And that's where, so to say, that's the mecca of ROI. But even before that, we can do a lot of work in understanding reach and resonance of any campaign. I think that's critical.
Praveen?
Thanks, Prashant. I think we need to look at social and social media in a slightly broader sense. And to go back to the young brand that Tata Docomo is, we started almost about 3 years ago in the market and at the same time on social media. And we started with the usual stuff on ORM, then feeding that into customer service, going up to brand building, so on and so forth. So those continue to be the pillar, but those are increasingly becoming hygiene to my mind, stuff that brands need to do, they will continue to do. However, I think a critical part of social media as it has evolved for us is that can it really become a channel for me to acquire customers, to increase their usage? And I think over the last 18 to 20 months, we have singularly focused on that in a big way, and we are seeing some very fantastic results coming our way. So to my mind, social media is much beyond just the usual ORM or the fan acquisition stuff that we see all around us. It's got a very deeply integrated element of being able to drive acquisition of new customers and driving up usage of existing customers. And that really is the ROI question to me.
Sanjay.
So, I like this question about ROI, which keeps coming back in every conference and every event which there is. And so I just wish that companies were concerned about ROI as a whole and not just on social media. So if I'm today in Delhi for the last 3 days, having some client meetings, attending EdTech, spending some time with you here, my company should be asking for an ROI on that, equally obsessively as we are asking ROI on social media. So why is this obsessiveness about the social media ROI? I think fundamentally it goes back to the fact that it is a digital cousin of SEM, and SEM was extremely measurable. And so there is a natural conclusion that social should be equally measurable to the paisa, and hence then you can equate it to an ROI. But unlike SEM, which was largely about advertising, marketing, leading up to web, clicks into a website or onto an e-commerce store or whatever, social is of course a lot more, a lot wider than just an advertising medium to drive sales. So when you look at it in a larger perspective, how do you kind of then evaluate the ROI part? It's not just directly leading up to one objective. So if then these questions come that what is the worth of a fan on Facebook, and what is the worth of a comment, what is the worth of a share? I mean, do we ask the question that I have a hoarding here, so if this one car goes, what's the worth of that one driver seeing that hoarding? I mean, it's the equivalent of asking a question, what's the worth of a like? I mean, it's part of a larger engagement, larger reach, larger brand awareness kind of a component. So first of all, take it that way. Of course, there is a fair amount of measurability. In the course of the next few minutes, we'll talk about some of those. But appreciate that it's part of a larger brand engagement media, and not necessarily treated as as measurable as search engine marketing, something like that. So that's one thought I just want to leave onto the platform right now.
Last from Pratik.
Yeah, I just want to say that to add to what Sanjay said, there was a myth earlier when social was taking off about 4, 5, 6 years back, which has actually led to this question being asked on every panel. The myth was that social media is easy, cheap, and free. And that myth was brought about by the fact that, if I was to engage in a conversation with my brother on social media, I won't really have to pay. So people sort of assumed that if an organization is trying to build relationships with its customers or with its prospects, they won't really need to spend any money. When they realize that they need to spend money, and possibly tons of it, that's how the question has come into to being, that is it worth spending money on social media vis-a-vis any other media?
Okay, so before we get into specifics which were raised by the initial remarks, anyone from the audience who wants to set the agenda in terms of what we're going to talk about? Anybody has a question? Yes, sir.
So when people go for such meetings and such events, why people don't ask questions in terms of calculating ROI is because you do these events once in a year or twice in a year. It's not a scalable advertising channel, and that's why we typically do not ask ROI questions on such channels. However, I strongly believe that there is a definite need for measuring the spends on social media. I do agree with what he said, that there is a lot of money which goes into social media monitoring and spending and so on and so forth. So definitely ROI is something which should be measured.
So, yeah. It'll be great if you can just say who you are and which organization you're from.
I'm Shishir from Dig Insight. The thing, one is the social media ROI, but more often than not, social media works in conjunction with the other web properties, mobile properties, and traditional media. So when it's getting integrated with that, how do you make sense of the whole ROI? That the piece is working, and what is the return on investment on the marketing dollar?
Great, so we'll take off from these two questions. If I hear right, the gentleman over here said that there has to be a measure of ROI, there is money being spent, so therefore what is the matrix that we can use to measure ROI? And I hear you say that social media is part of a bigger mix. So there has to be some kind of a framework where we're able to identify what is social doing for me and am I getting a return on that investment, if that is my right
One is
understanding.
social media in isolation, what's the ROI of that? And social media as a part of the
a
whole,
bigger- yeah.
how
So
much
what's the
is
ROI
it
of my entire
contributing to
program?
that?
Okay.
Yeah.
So gentlemen, I think we'll frame these two questions and I would like to ask the panel two things. First, when we talk about clients, and when we look at the entire width of all the clients who are there, are clients really clear of what is their objective on social media? Why are they on social media? Have they invested sufficient wallet size or mind space to define what they want to do on social media and social media as part of an overall marketing program? And therefore, should the question of ROI be asked or not asked in the first place? Are we treating social media seriously from the client side, both with respect to the strategic approach or focus that is required? Or are we just flirting with the medium as we see it today? We'll start with Pratik. Any views on that?
So basically, say only about, so all clients today have realized that because digital is so vast and social media is so vast, they need to have their toe in the ocean. But only about 5% of them literally are doing anything worth tangible on social media in terms of engaging with customers. The rest have just sort of created a page and a forum, and they don't really engage with customers. And I'm only talking the B2C space. On the B2B space, there's a complete, there's a vast black hole, at least here in India, in terms of engaging with customers. At Yatra, for example, we realized the importance of social media, and today we've become a benchmark case study globally on Facebook in terms of the activities that we've done, because it was very clear it was not about fan size, it was about engagement. And whether it's a new product that you want onto a holiday, which is customizable, or online reputation management, this is refunds of tickets, you can do everything. It's a channel, it's a destination, it's a replacement literally to the site that you can engage with in the brand out there. Yeah, and we are able to track to the last rupee using certain tools in a customer's transaction flow. When he visited the site, the social page, and whether is he coming onto our site from there, and what is the transaction that he's doing basis.
So I'll take off on that because I think that would be interesting to a lot of people sitting here, is how do businesses like yourself, how are you able to track down this customer through his entire customer journey? I mean, maybe he started off by seeing an offer on Facebook. Maybe subsequently he went on Google to look for something else and you accosted him there with an ad. And finally, he may have seen a display banner somewhere and clicked on that and then finally went on to purchase your ticket. Are you able to somehow, therefore, attribute social as one of the channels, if not the source channel from where this entire interaction started? Why I'm saying this is often when we track UTM source parameters and Google Analytics and all of that, it's typically the last click. You track the last click, and please correct me if I'm wrong, that's what we mostly end up doing. And therefore, even if social had played an influence in getting the person to start the journey, we may not be able to attribute it back to social. So in response to this specific question that ROI should be measured, can it be measured, my question to the panel, therefore taking off from your point, is attribution. Are there systems available to brands, and there are two of you from brand side, or agencies who are working with brands, or a market researcher from the outside? Do we have the ecosystem to be able to attribute any transaction which generates a return to its source?
So, it's like, like you mentioned, whether it's social or the rest of the web, I think it's not just that. I mean, today, as a consumer, your brand is reaching the consumer across multiple platforms, both traditional as well as digital. So it's over multiple interactions or engagement with your brand in offline as well as online channels that the convincing around purchasing your product is happening. So whether you should give attribute to the first vision or first discovery or the last, or all of these play a part. So now, assuming that, really, the reality is that all of these do play a part, which is why we have integrated campaigns. Even in the traditional world, you'll have a print and television and out-of-home all working together. And likewise, today, a television campaign will extend to online and social and all that, simply because you want to reach the consumer at multiple touch points, and through that, convince him to probably go ahead and buy your product. That being the case, I think giving any kind of technical attribution that, social will get 3% because this was the extent of engagement interaction is very hypothetical, because you don't know where the actual conversion happened in terms of purchase. But on the other hand, what you need to be sure of is that the audience that you're reaching, is it the right target audience? So, if there have been all these fascinations of building up large fan bases. Now, did you build the right kind of fan base? Is it the right audience? Is it the kind of people you want to reach? And then is your communication to them through various channels, whether it's social or other digital, is it helping the cause of creating that conviction or the path to purchase? As long as it's playing that role, it is playing that role. Now, how much you attribute to that is, I think, not easy to spell out there.
Taking off from what you said, and that's a very interesting point, and yeah, so Praveen wants to add something to that.
Yeah, I think that's a good question. So are you looking at social as a brand building platform only? Or are you looking at social as a business platform? That really defines what you really measure and track. Now, I think as marketeers, all of us run brand tracks. Take, for example, Tata Docomo runs its brand track with a company called Millward Brown, which is a global major in market research. And what we have found consistently over the last 20, 21 months is that there is almost a 7 percentage point difference between a customer who is connected with us socially versus the offline customer in the market, right? So you need to have a vision. The point here is that you need to have a vision and a need to track. Your mindset has to be an ROI-driven mindset. Now, all of us run brand tracks. It's not too difficult for us to isolate the customer if it's an online and offline customer and create the attributions that we are talking about at one level. Second, if you're looking at internet or if you're looking at social as a channel for sales and marketing, right? The issue there really is that there are enough tools. So even on Facebook today, we drop a cookie when the customer or a fan engages with me, and then I'm able to track him through his customer journey with me, be it my site, be it any other platform that he's engaging or interacting with me. So therefore, I think the technology is available. It's a mindset. If you have the mindset, you will find the means to be able to track that. And that really is at the heart of this ROI debate, to my mind.
I like to think of things in a very simple fashion. So whether it is social media, internet, so other online, mobile, or TV and radio and print, there are two things that we need to measure from an input perspective. Reach and frequency, that's one. So am I reaching the right audience with the right frequency? Second is how good is the copy, how good is the campaign? So even if I have reached the right people, does that lead to any change in their behavior? And that needs to be common, to your point, whether we are looking at TV, radio, print, online, and within online, social media, mobile, whatever. The moment we have that common metric on reach and frequency, or being able to have some kind of an understanding of looking at brand effects, saying, okay, people who've seen my campaign versus who've not, how does it change their behavior or their resonance with my brand? That solves one part of the question. And that we can do campaign specific, we can do platform specific, that is okay. ROI is always a brand question, it's always an overall campaign question. It can never be a platform specific question. We were discussing in the, earlier in the afternoon, Docomo runs a huge campaign online, but with that they also, let's say, come up with a 100 rupee off on a 500 rupee recharge. Every single retailer in the market is trying to sell that 100 rupee extra recharge. How do you take that into consideration? So unless we take a holistic view of the overall brand campaign, it is going to be extremely difficult for us to take just a social media campaign, attribute it via click-throughs or via cookies, because click-throughs don't work apart from direct response. Over 80% of brand buyers do not click on a particular online ad. So if 80% of sales are happening of people who've probably seen an ad or not seen an ad but definitely haven't clicked on it, then we aren't really capturing the whole pie. Therefore, as soon as we talk about ROI, we got to figure out if we are really saying what is exactly my return on investment, let's step back, let's look at our overall brand strategy, overall brand campaign, and then we can attribute, okay, there was TV, there was some kind of a pricing, and then there was also social media campaign that we ran. But effectiveness of any campaign can be done at a campaign, at a platform level. And that has to do with just two things: reach and frequency and efficacy of the campaign, which is effect of the brand or resonance.
Okay, so very interesting. Panelists have slightly divergent positions, and I love that. That allows me to, sort of poke at each of them. One more audience question, and then we'll open up to some other dimensions, please. Can we have the microphone reached out to him, please, or we'll hear you. Could you just highlight the linkage to ROI, because we'd like to keep this focused.
I'm not talking about ROI, actually. I'm talking about different,
Okay.
ROI is not my concern.
Sure. So maybe we'll take that question a little later, because this session is specific to ROI. We could always meet you offline, and the panelists are available to answer your question. Anyone else on a ROI specific question? The mic is there.
Yeah, hi, my name is Prashant. I am from Social Connect. My question is to Prashant. I would like to know if a campaign is run on TVC, and that gets some specific ROI every time. I want to take some budget out of that campaign and pull it to, say, a social media. Maybe you can say a Facebook campaign. So what would be for an awareness campaign, say for, if you are going by impressions. So how many impressions on TVC are equivalent of X impressions on social media? At least a tentative figure, if you have some study on that.
I don't
I
have
wish
any
we knew
such
that
figures,
answer.
no. What impressions on TV are equivalent to social media? No, but the only way to look at it is, if you're building a strategy or if you're running a campaign across TV and social media, you got to be able to measure them on a similar scale. So if you're measuring reach and frequency, then you should be able to measure reach and frequency on both, whether it is TV, where it is today easier to do because of the measurement system which were developed decades ago, or on social media or any online panel where measurement systems are just coming into play.
Okay, so we'll step on to another point of discussion, which is probably linked to ROI in a big way. How many brand custodians are over here? I can see Bikram here, but how many others? All of you have a Facebook page, I assume, for your brand? We can be noisy. It's okay. ROI is supposed to get into a very heated discussion. That's what I'm trying to do, like Arnab Goswami. You have a brand page, right? Do you know how many of your fans are your offline customers? Does anyone know? Percentage, numbers. 300 of my fans are customers. Bikram will know because I told you yesterday. Anyone else? So I'll open this question up to the panel. According to me, one of the first problems in going into this ROI debate is we don't know who our fans are. We have chased numbers. 1 million fans, 5 million fans, 1 lakh fans. And we go to an agency and say, can you get me these fans, right? That's typically how it happens. But have we ever asked the question, who are my fans? Are they my customers? Is it possible, and therefore the question to the panelists, is it possible today to have a strategy which first tries to get your customers to be your fans? Because if your customers are your fans, there's so much more you can do with them than if you don't know who they are. And I'll point this question to Praveen to start with. Is it today possible to preferentially target your customers and make them fans? Or B, is it possible for a brand to know how many of their customers are their fans?
Yeah, so I think the quick answer to that is yes, completely so. And I think let's talk about the largest platform in India, for that matter, Facebook. So I think over the last 3.5 months, what Tata Docomo has done is that we have leveraged the custom audiences bit of Facebook to now being able to identify who of my fans are my customers, who of my customers are my fans, and more importantly, we have tagged that back to our CRM databases to be able to identify what their usage is. And we have run pilots now successfully in terms of targeting a specific sub-segment of my customers. And I'll give you a live example. So about 2 months back, we ran a campaign for people who had lapsed out of usage in the last 3 months of the Tata Docomo network. We had the information in a backend CRM tool and in the intelligence softwares. We married that to the Facebook custom audiences, came down to a distilled set of audience, targeted them with a specific offer which was seen only by those people. And you'll be surprised that of almost about 500,000 kind of a number, we got 30%, 30% of customers coming back to a network, spending more than what they would spend normally in a month in the first recharge transaction that we had. Now the trick there is that when I served him this offer, I also made sure that there was something available online for me to feed on the impulse that I had generated for him to complete the transaction. And there, it was the online recharge, so bulk of these 30% win backs were people who immediately went there and did online recharge, right? So I think it's a slightly complex game on the face of it, but again, if you're fundamentally clear and if you're driven by the fact that you are going to chase ROI, you are going to use it as a channel to acquire, upsell, cross-sell, there is absolutely no problem today in terms of being able to get to an audience, in terms of being able to slice it, dice it the way you would want to do it, and to be able to run then integrated campaigns in terms of generating an immediate sale and an ROI out of it.
Great. So in case there are any questions, does everyone know about custom audiences which Facebook has launched?
Sabir, can I add on?
Yeah, please.
Sorry. So the interesting point here is that you're mapping your customers to your Facebook fans, which is great. But so that's definitely done as a custom audience. You see what Facebook offers is something even more, because when you map your customers to your Facebook fans, what you still know is that yes, these guys are my customers, and I know their behavior with regards to my product or service. But on Facebook, these guys are also doing a lot more. Is there a way to really understand, deeper understanding of the same base? Okay, so for a long time, when you acquired fan base, there was very little that you had a view of. So you had the Facebook insights where you can go and see some top-level demography and stuff like that. So you know what age groups and which locations and gender and stuff of that kind of basic things which Facebook was offering us. Now there are at least, so besides custom audience where you can map your loyalty base or something like that, and so you have some more understanding of your audience. In addition to that, there are a couple of other interesting ways in which you can understand your fan base. One very simple way is if you guys, some of you must have got Facebook Search Graph. Anybody using Facebook Search Graph here? Yeah. So Facebook Search Graph is an amazing tool to play around with. It's pretty addictive. If you get into that, you kind of lose yourself there. If you get Facebook Search Graph, go up onto the search bar and just say people who like my brand. So people who like Tata Docomo, and it starts showing up actual profiles, nice 1/3 of a screen worth of profile. So you see a photograph of a person, so you get a sense of who these people are. You get 4 or 5 lines of information about them. Of course, it's not everybody. It's your friends and your friends of friends, and those who have open profiles. So these are the ones you get to see. And if you have 12 million fans, there's no easy way to do that. So don't even think about it. But people who have smaller fan bases, you could actually look at that and just keep running through screen after screen, and you get a sense of what your fan base is really like. It's very, very interesting. And you can play around further. So if you have, let's say, local campaigns, so you say people who like my brand page and live in Chennai, you'll get to see people of that specific demography around. And again, you get a sense. So if you're doing an offline campaign, you want to drive from Facebook to an offline campaign, you know what kind of people you have in Chennai, what kind of marketing communication you want to put out to drive that. So that's one really interesting way in which you can play around. There are lots of parameters, not just location, interests, and what books they read and what movies they see. You can play around as much as you want. The other interesting aspect is a paid tool. There's a tool called Wisdom Professional. What it has done is that it's a tool which is an opt-in tool. So if I opt in to Wisdom, Wisdom starts tracking me. And of course, it knows me as one statistic. It doesn't abuse my privacy. In doing so, they have today globally, they have a base of about 18 million people who have opted in, including a fairly large base from India. Based on that data, we are able to see reports about fan bases in detailed demography, psychography that what's the psychography of my fan? So I'll find that, you know, certain percentage are book lovers, certain percentage are car lovers, or this or that. What are the kind of places they check into, Facebook check-in, where do they do? What are the other pages they like? You know, things like that. So, you know, you get in-depth understanding. It's a statistic, so if from your fan base, you may get maybe 5%, 3% of your fan bases who have volunteered into this. But that's from a statistical point of view, you get a good view of what your fan base is like on a qualitative base. Now, is it right, first of all? Is it the kind of audience you wanted to acquire, or through some Facebook media buy, you got all the wrong people? Then you have a problem. You got to turn it around. If you have the right people, you also know what kind of communication you need to continue to engage and interest them, because you know what kind of people they are now.
I'd like to just add to sorry, I'd just like to add and actually build on Sanjay's point and take it to the next level. So you can again slice, dice, get to a deeper understanding of therefore what percentage of my target segment is where. But broadly, we all know the Indian consumer, right? Entertainment equal to Bollywood and music, sports, bit of health, relationships, grooming. That's really the broad zone that the customer really engages with on Facebook. But you know, one interesting experiment which we did almost about 3.5 months ago was to launch a new product called the Endless Music product, which is nothing but a Bollywood music product, exclusively on Facebook to start with. And we built it up from there. Every week there's a new movie that is getting released. Build your status updates, build your conversations around that entire thing. You'll be surprised at the pace of penetration that we generated on our base, not just of the Facebook fans, but of the offline customers who were not with us as fans on Facebook. The moot point here is that don't get into this mess of very, very detailed drill down identifying to the last fan. I did speak about that at one level, which is to generate sales and acquisition. At another level, it is easy actually to think out of the box, understand what your business is, what is it that you can derive out of your fan base, be true to what the broad consumer psyche is when he is interacting on social media, and start creating small pilots around that and see if it works for you. That really is the starting point of the journey to being able to realize value of any level of fan base. It could be 1 lakh, it could be 1 million, it could be 12 million. That's really the important point.
Just 5 seconds. We'll close this question, but just to say that while, you know, I agree that entertainment is our top and Bollywood is the top, but, you know, with this wisdom tool, we did an analysis comparing two telecom brands on Facebook. And the interesting thing we saw was that in one case, the top film was Wake Up Sid, and another case it was Dabangg. So, you know, therein lies the qualitative difference of the fan base. So while it's still entertainment, while it's still Bollywood, you know what your base is. Is it a Wake Up Sid or is it Dabangg?
And I know who the two operators are.
I'm not mentioning it.
I love this. Okay, one more. Next audience question. You've already asked one. Let's take somebody new. You are, please.
Went up by 7 point or 8 point. If my sales or my profitability or some kind of my equity went up, you know, some shareholder value, whichever way I'm saying you want to measure it like that. And usually, I mean, I'm finding that the ROI we talk about of social media is in the range of consumer stroke brand. I mean, you know, so many people actually engage in the brand, and so many people actually spend more time than what they used to spend otherwise, and so on and so forth. Did that actually impact my business results and all? I find that link rarely over there. So I want to know from the panel.
Prashant, you want to take that question?
Thank you.
So what you're referring to as most of the time that we do as an ROI is, I would say, is analytics. Where we're just trying to do, trying to understand what really happened to the campaign. But you're absolutely right. When you talk about ROI, you have to link it back to sales. And to be able to do that, it has to be a cross-platform measurement where you can then build a marketing ROI model to say, okay, this is every dollar spent on TV gives me so many cents or so many paise or rupees in sales. Every dollar spent on social media has given me so much in sales. And within that, these campaigns have delivered higher, these campaigns have delivered lower. That kind of a final, so to say, marketing ROI is what the CFO is bothered about. And ultimately, while we are all brand custodians and we look after brands, ultimately the CFO defines how much dollars we get, and finally, therefore, how where do we put that money? So what CFO is bothered about is the real ROI question, and that needs advanced marketing ROI analytics, without which we can do analytics saying people are spending more time, or these are our consumers and these are our fans, but ultimately to be able to answer that you need full marketing ROI.
Okay, so we'll open up another front on this discussion, and we'd request the panelists to be quick on your responses, otherwise there's so much more questions that we would like to take. So we've identified one problem is that we often don't know who our fans are or our audiences are, and it's important, according to the panelists, that you know who they are so that you're able to drive specific agenda. My question to the panel is, when we say social media, and this question is for all of you, when we say social media, what are the few things which come to your mind? Facebook, Twitter, Pinterest, Instagram, right? Anything else which comes up? When you say social media, does your website come up? No? Does it not? Okay, so we have confusion there. The question for the panel is, when we are saying ROI on social media, is it only restricted to the platforms which have been created by the Facebooks and the Twitters and the likes, or is there a greater closed looping that we need to do? What I'm asking you is, when somebody, let's say, is not a fan of yours on Facebook, but he comes to your site and he makes a transaction, do we do anything there? Normally not. Okay, we expect to deal with our Facebook audience on Facebook. But if somebody has, let's say, an electronics or even a Yatra, for example, if somebody has bought a ticket on yatra.com after he's checked out, is it okay or is it better that we show him a message saying that, are you on Facebook? Would you like to share this journey which you've just made? And I'll give you a coupon of 500 rupees on your next purchase. In so doing, do I also make my website a social channel? And can I therefore also create ROI from social media, but not on the social platforms? So do we miss the game when we look at ROI on social media by saying only there are 5 channels and we are present on 2 or we are present on 3? Are we missing out our entire earned media or our own media? Pratik, if you'd like to.
So Sabyasachi, good pitch. At Yatra, we are definitely doing that. I don't know if you were aware of that. So yes, so we have a very aggressive and well thought out CRM infrastructure. Whether it's welcoming a new customer, we're able to track by the uniqueness of his mobile number as well as his email ID. These are the 2 parameters we use to identify a customer. So whether a new customer, we are also able to track his life cycle. We know in the category it takes approximately X number of days. By X number of days, if a customer hasn't made a second transaction, he probably will lapse out. So we know X minus 5 days we need to engage with the customer using any communication tool. On the site itself, the site is our biggest, because it's our product, it's our brand. We are able to engage with the customer because once you've made a search, which is you come, you browse, you put in your flight from example here to X to Y, Delhi to Mumbai, and you press the search, and after the search results, if you hover around for more than 20 to 30 seconds, there will be a pop-up, what we call a web engage tool, which we've integrated with the site, which will ask you for your details in case you're lost, in case you need some extra additional help, in case you want us to get back to you, or you can get in touch with us on social media as well. So we're trying to integrate various platforms along with our basic product, which is the website itself.
Any other panelists have something to add on?
So I think there's another dimension to this which is completely different, Sabyasachi, which is about identifying the uniqueness of a platform and being able to leverage it once again to drive what is it that you want to finally drive it with the customer. So if Twitter is all about being on the go, right, how can you identify something that you would want to do with the customer on the go? Or do you really know what your customer does on the go that you would want to therefore put in there on Twitter and therefore be able to, drive a transaction? That's my theme, drive a transaction with him. Take for example, we did something called TwitCom, which inarguably is also acknowledged by Twitter, the world's first Twitter commerce platform. We piloted that some time back. It's all about saying that I know the young audience in the country is looking at subscribing to data packs on the fly. 5 rupee data pack, 20 rupee data pack, so on and so forth, right? It's an impulse purchase. It's like buying a a chocolate, right? So we created this hashtag-based subscription to a data pack on the Twitter platform. You'd be surprised that we actually ran into scalability issues in terms of continuing with the platform, and we're now working with Twitter closely to get that sorted. The kind of response that we got was humongous. So I may not be able to sell a 899 rupee postpay connection to a Twitter guy, but surely being able to sell a 5 rupee or 20 rupee pack and be able to leverage the millions that you have there could be one of the ways in which you could do it. So it is not just about the website, it's also about identifying what is the unique thing that a platform delivers and how can you once again think out of box, innovate to be able to link it back to your brand and business objectives.
Any other questions from the audience? Okay, please.
Now, in the current multi-device world where a consumer is watching TV, then she goes onto the tablet, and then she goes onto the mobile, sees Facebook over there, and finally completes a purchase in a brick and mortar store. So how do you track this consumer and target effectively, because there are no cookies on mobile? So it's very difficult to check consumer accessing Facebook on mobile. So in a multi-device world, how will you track the consumer?
Yeah, I think that point got raised, and I think Prashant answered that extremely well in the first part of this conversation. See, there'll be different objectives, right? Building consideration for the brand is an important task that a brand marketeer does. You'll have to find your own measures and metrics. Is it consideration? Is it preference? Is it the bonding that the customer has with you? You will have to find your own measures to be able to do that when there are multiple mediums that get integrated. However, there's a completely different side to it, which is that why take the customer to a brick and mortar store in the first place? Can you actually create an online transaction medium for him to complete the customer journey then and there? So those are the two different elements that we need to really keep in mind. And I think one of the fundamental things that we need to bear is that social media is not just about brand building. It is brand building as well as sales. It is actually not just brand building and sales. It is also about PR, which is called online reputation management. It is also about customer service. You need to take a business view of social and then try and identify as to where does it impact you in your business in a meaningful manner for you to put energy and resources behind it. I think one of the points which got made earlier.
Sorry, no, but it will vary from category to category. Say for your category, it's fine. But if it's a FMCG category, a lot of people will complete their purchase in a brick and mortar store in the current scheme of things.
Can I answer that question? I think I got your question right. In fact, Vikram is here from SBI Card. So, what is important is to not get stuck into unidimensional solutioning. So, what Praveen was mentioning about Docomo applies to Docomo. And it's my considered view that there is no one rule fits all solution. So, for example, you can, in a multi-device environment, use something like a Facebook offer. If for most of you who might be aware, there is a specific status update type called offer. That offer today, and we have used that for SBI, which is why I use that example, can allow you to load up to 1 million different coupons uniquely to every customer. That particular ad unit and status update is then viewable by people on all devices. I mean, he could be using an LED TV to connect his laptop, he could be on his mobile, he could be wherever. When he does that claim, there is an option given by Facebook, and I must compliment Facebook for all that I dislike about it, for coming up with these brilliant ones, that you can create a coupon which could be either online, either offline, or online and offline. So if you do an online coupon, you get the coupon code in your email. If you do offline, they do a pop-up which you can print and then take it to a physical store and redeem it. So there are various tools available, and you can innovate. The challenge really comes when you're talking about FMCG, and that's a category that we've been struggling to figure out this ROI closure, and that's why I raised this point to the panel as well. How do you close loop the entire engagement? Is that if you, let's say, have a coupon and you go to Big Bazaar and say, okay, I now want to get 5 rupees off on Pantene, how will Big Bazaar verify this is a valid coupon? So the problem comes in POS terminals, and specifically PC POS terminals. Their systems are not integrated with the issuance of the coupon validation. So even if I were to, so the problem is not about how do I track, even in an FMCG category, the coupon. The coupon can be tracked. But the question is, nobody's willing to accept that coupon in an offline world, and we're only talking about branded retail. We're not even talking about the Kirana store. Now that gets into an even bigger challenge. So closed looping, and therefore my next question to yeah, Sanjay. Please.
So what's the question is interesting, and there is in the US it's introduced. So Facebook has something which is really interesting, which it has got the user's phone number as well. A lot of times consumers are asked the phone number at the checkout counter on a store. Facebook is offering solutions to retail brands in the US to connect their phone numbers of customers who bought in and compare them with the Facebook user base. Now if you, and just like the custom audience, which is available here already, the same thing is available for closed looping and offline sale, and it's already in place in the US. I guess, you need a retailer to work together, so hopefully in some time it'll come in India also. But Facebook will enable this because of the fact that they have phone numbers, unlike a typical Google search where, that one information is not there. Custom audience has also been possible with Facebook because it's got email ID, it's got phone numbers, it's able to look up who actually purchased and, stuff.
And to interestingly add to that, Twitter is also going to come up with some product announcement in Q3 of this year, which again will open up the Twitter audience to far more levels of, segmented campaigning. Any other question from the audience? Yes, please. You have how many minutes? Oh, time is up. Okay. So last two questions.
Hi.
Yeah.
My name is Aarti, and I head the social media division at Digital Law in Kenneth. I had an interesting question. We've been running a lot of campaigns, and according to us, they are successful in terms of engagement and the chatter and the overall success of the campaign. But if I have to go back to a client, and if I have to say that, what is that parameter that defines, is this successful, and why is that so? Because whatever analysis we give out, even on a campaign basis or even on daily engagement, that's out of our learnings. But is there a science or a specific parameter analytics mechanism from which I can understand that, okay, we have reached this, like for example, Bollywood, if it's 100 crore, it's a huge success. But I have not able to find out or even do a research or come across any research which claims that if you happen to have so much of reach and so much of chatter, then it's brilliant, amazing, we reached that mark.
Are you addressing it to anyone in particular?
No, I'm sorry, anybody can take that up.
So first of all, I don't think there are too many benchmarks available, because benchmarks, if you actually have to take benchmarks, they need to be apple-to-apple comparisons. So you may not be able to compare a Tata Docomo with a B2B brand or something like that. So you need to have a lot of data to benchmark. But I think the way I would approach a situation is like this, is that when you're working with a client, start out with clarity of objectives. So what are we doing this for? And for reaching those objectives, what parameters or what metrics make sense? And have an expectation management issue. Because even if you go with some brilliant numbers, I know that we work with a GEC channel and we had 1 million fans, and they say, what's just 1 million? We've got such a big audience and you only got 1 million. And then we're working with a B2B brand and we get them 48 leads in a quarter, and they think they've got money's worth for next 3 years. Okay, so it's just a question of figuring out where the expectations lie, and are we working towards that? Is it realistic? Can you deliver that? And then I think the client should be happy. I think it's a question of client agency management more than anything else.
Right, so we are out of time. Any further questions? I'm sure the panelists will be available to answer your questions, but you know how it works. A big thank you to all of them for being brilliant panelists and for sharing the points of view.